If you're a deep person, remember you can only meet another person as deeply as they've met themselves. And there's been a round in the collective of just a lot of really not nice stuff. And let it serve as a reminder to remember who the F you are. And forget about people's judgments and projections, and be aware of subconscious loyalties that you may have to these people. Make them more conscious. And decide, it's a choice. Is your loyalty with yourself, with God, or is it with your father or mother or brother or sister? Bibliomancy, the body electric. She turned his head farther to the side to catch the light, an echo of John Reston's examination so long ago of the blow to the head she'd taken at Visimorph. She focused as hard as she could on his wound. It was scabbed over. Even the hair was growing back around it. Geez, Jody, she sat back, startled. Is it bone under there? I'm working on it. Vic was puzzled. Vic was puzzled. Can you know you're working on it? For us, that's another function of the medulla oblongata. It isn't conscious. I transferred basic hardware maintenance functions to the medulla oblongata this afternoon, Victoria. Thanks for your suggestion. They took up an awful lot of capacity. You're saying I could put the healing on automatic? Vic had second thoughts. You might not want to do that as long as you're trying to accelerate healing. She tossed the bandage on the table. You don't need this anymore. Jody took her hand. Take the bibliomancy as metaphors in your life. You don't need the crutch anymore. You don't need the Band-Aid solution. You need the attention on the wound. And look at what's going on. Jody took her hand in his own strong clasp. His hands were calloused, old calluses, softened now but not gone. Once he had worked hard with these hands, the feel of those calluses gave him a disturbing reality. The churning in her gut was moving south. I have a lot to learn. He searched her face. I think I am a burden to you. Your life is disrupted. Your job is gone. You are hiding. I'm sorry, Victoria. The downward slant to his eyes fulfilled its promise of sadness. They seemed to have seen everything, understood everything, those eyes, though for all intents and purposes he wasn't innocent. You shouldn't be. She took her hands away, self-consciously. He mustn't know the effect his body had on her. She hated being weak as much as she hated losing control. Everything I ever wanted to do was wrapped up in bringing your program to life. She chuckled to herself. I must admit, I expected something simpler. But I wouldn't trade what's happened for any other version of a life. He searched her face. She wondered if he was using the program that showed him when people were lying. But she wasn't afraid. That was the truth as she knew it. He seemed to come to some conclusion. What do we do now, Victoria? Well, there was $64,000 question. Vic took a deep breath. First, I guess we see that you're all right. Did you get all your programs downloaded? Yeah. He nodded, then shook his head and laughed. When he laughed, his eyes crinkled into merry slits. What a rush. I was screaming down that needle into the dark. Weren't you afraid? There was no time. And being strung out between computers and this brain and the hospital computer system, that made me more afraid. She could listen to that growl rumbling out of his chest forever. He was hers, yet not hers anymore. Now he had a body of his own, a will of his own, He liked hot cheese and didn't like pickles. He could heal himself. Who knew what else he could do? Some glimmer of fear shimmered at the edge of her awareness. Who or what was this sitting beside her? We'll test your functions. Then we have to go somewhere that McIntyre can't find us. How will we do that? He reached for her hand again. She couldn't let him take it. She stood up and began to pace. I don't know exactly. We'll have to figure it out. She glanced at the computer over at the DJ console. It was the latest Visimorph semi-server model, just unpacked. Boxes were scattered behind the table, packing strewn everywhere. It was never meant to do the things she might need to do with it. But when it came time, she'd build what was needed. We've got access to the internet. There must be dozens of sites by private investigators and militia types that tell you how to disappear, or how to find people who have disappeared, just as useful. She wandered to the circle of light and poked one finger at the keyboard. What happens if he breaks the firewall and finds your base program? It was bound to happen sooner or later. I don't know. Jody sat up and ran his hands through his thick hair. He looked distraught. He gets a duplicate of me. Maybe nothing happens to what I am now. Maybe. Vic wasn't so sure. What was in Visimorph's basement was the only truly coherent version of her program. Was the Jody sitting next to her really whole? Do we care what he has if he can't destroy this body and this brain? He could make the program into anything he wanted. Vic stabbed a key, thinking. An evil twin, Jody asked. In a way, she looked up at him. I guess I feel sort of proprietary about that program. Jody clenched and unclenched his hands, watching the muscles in his forearms bunch. Finally, he said, "It might be smarter than I am now." A look of pain, regret, something she couldn't name moved across his face. It was pretty hard to deny that he had emotions when she saw them flickering in real blue-green eyes. First, we'll make sure you're okay and get the physical you away from him. Then we can think about the rest. He'll be tough to fool, Jody warned. Yeah, I know. Vic turned to the computer and booted up. Chapter 14. Hugo pushed through the door to Neuromancer's control area. It was nearly 9 p.m. and his wife had buzzed his communicator twice already. A disheveled McIntyre hunched over the keyboard didn't look up. It had been a long day today, and Hugo's briefcase was heavy. But he had good news to report. Screw this. McIntyre pushed back from the keyboard. That damn program thinks it's smarter than I am. Hugo froze. Obviously, breaking the firewall was not going well. McIntyre looked around the room. All right, you fucker. I'm going to start dismantling you piece by piece until I get you. It took Hugo a minute to realize that McIntyre didn't mean him. Simpson spoke up. No, light pipes aren't meant to be shut down. The blockage would create a power surge. You know that. You approve the specs for the compromise to get it up fast. You take out half of Santa Monica. I don't care, McIntyre sulked. I want this program. And every time I think I've got it, it moves on me or changes the firewall code or something. Get me a solution for shutdown. If we did find a way to shut down, your program would be erased, Simpson said. That brought McIntyre up short. The way blowing up Santa Monica apparently didn't. We just reboot, recover. Where do you think there's enough storage to handle backup for a machine like this? Simpson prodded, picking up the capacity reports and flapping them in the air.